My name is Cheyenne Tessier, and I'm the founder of the Rooftop Tea Company. We're creating an alternative supply chain model for premium organic teas. For our women growers in developing countries, we offer economic opportunities they otherwise wouldn't have access to because their family responsibilities require them to stay home. And for our US tea drinkers, we deliver a product that better connects them to their values. Now, I remember the first time I stood on a rooftop garden when I lived in Cairo. The business I was working for sent me to harvest some of the basil that was grown by the women living in the building below. It looked like this. This garden, like many others I visited, was being used to grow vegetables for the family or to be sold in the street. This model wasn't necessarily profitable, but it was so successful because the women only had to take 1 hour out of their busy days to work in the garden. I kept wondering as I worked on these rooftops, though, how could we make this valuable thing even more valuable? And it struck me. What if we could offer a premium good and maximize profits going to our women growers? My friends and I drove around the city collecting scrap wood, and we built the first rooftop tea garden last summer. It's a 10 by 20 structure filled with thriving chamomile and hibiscus. After receiving widespread outpour of community support for not only our project, but also this beautiful prototype, we decided to launch the Rooftop Tea Company. The tea industry, as it stands, is plagued by the denial of human rights. Workers make just $1 a day for work weeks of sometimes 60 hours or more. The tea industry has gained a lot of media attention lately for being a primary driver of indentured servitude and child slavery. This is even a common practice among fair trade labels. What we see as a result are teas on the shelf that market for health benefits or for flavors, but can't actually reveal their sourcing models and will never reveal how much their growers make. So how are we different? We're creating a supply chain that maximizes investment to our local communities. For our women growers, we offer above average wages for non-arduous work because it's proven that when you invest in women wages in the developing world, they reinvest in breaking the cycle of poverty with services like education and healthcare. Furthermore, for our US tea drinkers, we remove the mystery around source labeling and around how much our growers make per cup of tea. In other words, we're creating a model that's more fair than fair trade. Meet Fatima. Fatima lives in our first sourcing city, Cairo. Like many other women in her neighborhood, she stays busy in the house, keeping track of her 3 children. She's married to Khalid, and he works as a bricklayer. He makes enough money to support the family by paying for the rent and also by buying rice. But Fatima often sits on her rooftop, wondering if there's some opportunity for her to better support her family. Meet Liz. Liz is a tea person. As a young urban professional, she finds that chamomile is the best end of the day escape, but she's also a conscious consumer. And when at Whole Foods, she stands there looking at the back of the labels, wondering which of these teas best fits her values. The Rooftop Tea Company has an incredible opportunity to connect these 2 women through the stories we tell with our brews. Which is why our value proposition lies in our ability to deliver with each sip a story of a woman, a culture, and a city that came together to brew each blend. We'll strategically use these stories in our marketing tactics. For example, on the back of every package, we'll have a story and picture of one of our women growers. And furthermore, there will be a tracking code on each sachet of tea. What this means is our customers will be able to go to our website and type in their tracking code and trace each cup of tea back to a specific grower and see the impact they've made on her community. Furthermore, they'll be able to share these stories on social media and get discounts when them and their friends buy tea. This is our competitive landscape. As you can see, we compete with companies such as Mighty Leaf and Capital Teas. In terms of quality, we offer a premium organic blend that's based off the flavors of our growers' cultural histories. And in terms of narrative, our alternative supply chain creates this story that cannot be matched by any of our competitors. This is our team. I'm Cheyenne, the founder and an avid tea lover. I study here at the George Washington University, Middle East Studies and Business Administration. I've received the National Award by Womenetics for social enterprise research, and have spent the past 2 years studying social enterprise models internationally. Mallory Dudra is our head of operations, and she'll handle the day-to-day facilitation between our field offices and our home base. She currently works for the National Council on U.S. Arab Relations. And Samira Al-Husri is our head of communications. She'll handle our brand messaging that will go on our packaging, our website, and our social media page. She currently is the head of marketing for Ishkur, and her work's been featured in Bustle and in The Economist. Our mentors stem from diverse fields. Khan is an angel investor in Cairo and founder of Rise Up Egypt, the largest social enterprise platform in the Middle East. Stacey is vice president of Ruckus, a major marketing firm in New York City. And Jennifer is executive director of Hands Along the Nile River, which is the prime recipient of USAID in Egypt. And over the past 6 months, we as a diverse crew have created some real traction. We've done 38 customer interviews and 23 retailer interviews. We're also sending one of our team members to scout our second sourcing location this summer. Our website saw over 400 views and 45 attempts to buy our tea in less than 12 hours after we launched it. In terms of prototyping, we have 2 prototype blends, a prototype garden, and we've created models for garden layout and yield that have been done professionally. We also have 4 partners that are ready to be contracted, and after competing in TCU Dallas, we are a finalist in the Tech Wildcatters Incubator, which is one of the top 10 incubators in the United States. This is our supply chain. I'll explain more about the certain pieces as I go through our key partners. We've chosen to work with a number of operational partners, and they've agreed to work with us. However, if needed, we've identified a number of alternatives for each of these partners. Our community outreach coordinator will be a trusted woman within her community. She'll be hired from our pre-existing co-op network. Her main responsibility will be to canvass the neighborhoods, running applications for the women, and assuring women have access to their rooftops for sustainable periods of time. She'll also work with the women to help them understand our wage system and what this can mean for their family. Our building partner will be Shadoof. They will build and install our hydroponic and regular rooftop gardens for less than $2 per square foot. Now, this is a building company with a proven track record of building low-cost, high-efficiency rooftop gardens in Cairo. Our farming partner will be Barsima. They'll run our grower trainings, and they'll also match each woman with a farming mentor, which will help her understand problems that can arise with the crops, such as pests or bad soil conditions. And our packaging partner will be APE. They'll take our dried and sorted teas and put them in biodegradable packaging that can actually be planted by our customers. It looks like this. Our field office director, most importantly, will wrap all these pieces together by facilitating their operational partners and making sure our production schedules are on track. We'll hire her from the entrepreneurship community in Cairo. These are our first 2 prototype blends. The first is Souk Masri, which you're tasting right now. It's made of dried citrus, hibiscus, Egyptian mint, and has a touch of lemongrass in it. We've crafted these teas from flavors of tea that have been grown in Cairo for centuries. And furthermore, these 2 iterations have gone through 2 taste testings with our consumer board. The tea industry is doing really well. The premium priced bag tea industry last year received $1.82 billion in sales and was the largest growing segment within the bigger tea industry. Furthermore, the organic and natural industries saw an impressive compound annual growth rate of 11.2% over the past 3 years, which is why when we talked to our target customer, they said they'd pay over 50% more for a product if it was organic and over 50% more for a product if it supported women's empowerment. Luckily, our product does both. When we took this number to our 23 retailers, they said they'd be very interested in supporting a trial period because they knew our product was of interest to their customers. We'll also be offering our sales through direct channels such as our website and Amazon. For every $8 package we sell, $2 goes to grower wages and $1.50 is kept in profits for the Rooftop Tea Company. We spend $4 on operational and production costs, roughly, and although this number seems high, this is one of our key values because most of this money is actually being kept in the community. Looking at our summarized pro forma, you can see that our operating margin and operating earnings rise respectively until we break even in year 4. We're seeking $100,000 for the first 3 years of production costs. This means by year 3, we'll support 100 women in 2 countries and serve 18,000 customers. I've already invested $7,500 of my own money in SG&A, and with our winnings from Dallas TCU, which will be spent on licensing in Cairo and here and legal fees, your investment could help us roll out operations this summer and launch by January 2017. How far would $35,000 go? Very far. With $35,000, we'd roll out our first line of production, creating 1,000 units, which would then be sold on our crowdfunding platform. This includes hiring 2 full-time positions in Cairo and paying 20 women to actually farm the tea with building the rooftops. Essentially, this money with our crowdfunding platform would double to create 50% of our initial investment with this one-time investment. In sum, the Rooftop Tea Company is creating an alternative supply chain that empowers women in the developing world and also empowers our customers to find a product that better fits their values. We're ready and able to launch, and with your small investment, we'll be able to do so. Thank you very much.
A quick question about the economics of this again. So
Sure.
I heard you say in your talk that your supply chain, the manufacturer that you have engaged would charge you about $2 a square foot on average for, what are the economics on the revenue side and on the, so what does the grower get?
Sure.
Could you just sort of break that down?
Sure. So these are our 2 models that we've done for crop yield and also building. They're a little light, I'm sorry. The grower will make for the average, and this is a conservative estimate, will make $41 a month for a 9-month growing period. Now this is equivalent to an average male wage in her society. So what that means is that 9 months out of the year, she'll make the same wage as her husband for only 1 hour of work a day.
And that's based on a rooftop farm of about how big is that?
26 by 26.
26 by 26, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So where do the growers source the tea?
Oh, okay, so Shadoof is actually handling our seedlings. So they're going to raise our organic seedlings on they have a massive rooftop where they've been doing this with vegetables for a long time. And so we're connecting them with our farming partner who's going to provide them with the seeds, and they're going to raise the seedlings and then install them when they install the rooftop gardens.
Question on the marketing side or market side.
Sure.
How do you, I mean, this has a potential, seems to me to be a little bit fashion, flash fashion. So
Sure.
how do you create freshness and newness in the offer to eliminate churn and
Sure.
create some stickiness?
Sure. So we've read a number of market research reports from Packaged Facts, which is a pretty trusted source, that says that source labeling and stories about sourcing will be the biggest trend in the next 10 years in the beverage industry, and tea companies actually aren't taking advantage of this. So we're filling the gap there and being the only tea company that's modeled on a woman-based and a development model that's not, okay. In other words, tea companies can be more ethical, but they'll never be as ethical as us, and they'll never be able to tell the story we can tell. We'll be able to expand these stories by expanding to new cities every 1 to 2 years and offering 2 more blends per city. And that way we'll always have fresh blends, innovative blends that will tell stories of where they come from. Yes. Oh, I think you had a question.
So I have 2 questions. My first question is, how are you organized? Are you a B Corp, a C Corp, LLC? Or?
Yeah. So we are going to be an LLC, and we're going to be a private business in Egypt, which will then be bought out by the American LLC. We're definitely open to talking about organization, but that's how it looks now.
So do you plan to take investments, or?
We do plan to take investments. We would like to roll out our first year of operations first to know what our company is worth before we sell it.
And then my second question is, so what is the, do you have any idea what the average income is of your consumer?
Of our consumer?
Yes,
Yeah,
so your end consumer.
We're targeting upper middle class, upper class between the ages of 18 to 34 who are highly educated.
Thank you.
What's your projected price point versus the competition?
Sure. So we find ourselves very much at the middle of the premium price teas. We're going to sell on the market for $8 per package, all the way up to $16 for our sampling package, which will be 1/4 of an ounce, 4 sachets of tea. And we'll also have a retailer price, a wholesale price.
And you opened by talking about how fair trade has sort of failed in this space.
Sure.
Why has fair trade failed, and why are you not going to fail?
Fair trade is not failing in the space, but they're failing to hold up to the ethical values that a lot of conscious consumers value. So they are gaining customers by advertising for fair trade, and we can't deny that, definitely. But we're creating something fundamentally different that's going to be sought after by these people who look deeper than something that says fair trade on it, that want to actually know the stories of their sourcing.
Help me understand more about why it's fundamentally different.
Why we're fundamentally different? Sure. So the idea of fair trade is that plantation owners can contract and negotiate for the prices that their tea are sold, but this doesn't actually translate into grower wages. So at the end of the day, the label fair trade has no say over how much a grower is making or how the quality of life for that grower is. So a lot of tea industries, tea plantations have also instituted plantation living as a wage system, which means they'll offer plantation workers housing and instead of pay, which kind of keeps them in a system of indentured servitude because their whole family will move there and work there.
Okay.
So we're creating jobs for women that allow them to be with their families and live their lives in a normal way.
If I am one of your women growers, how am I organized and how do I get paid?
Sure. So you're organized. You're essentially an employee of us. You'll be organized into a number of brackets through our farming mentors. They'll visit you once every 2 weeks and make sure your crop is going well if you have any questions. You'll also be visited by our community outreach coordinator, who will make sure all the social aspects of your project are going well. And then you'll be paid after you harvest the tea by weight.
And just, sorry, very quickly, there's no policy or problematic implications for employment because there's paperwork usually involved in that, and oftentimes there's family dynamics that make that not as possible?
Sure. So this is actually a model that's already being used by Shadoof that we've kind of instituted and made our own by offering higher profits. So we're essentially copying this legal system that already works for them, and they don't see problems arising as much because in the building it's actually mostly a family living together. So you don't see the fighting dynamics of who wants to farm the tea because likely it's one family of a mother and a daughter or cousins working together and sharing those profits.
And there's no gender question.
Well, the dynamics of Cairo, our first sourcing location, is that right now it doesn't work out, that there's a gender dynamic in it. The women are using the money to support their families, and the family will gladly take the money to get extra nutrients or send the children to school.
This is our last question.
What are the costs for the grower as far as do people own their own homes and they're using on their own space? Are they leasing it? Are there water costs? Do they have to?
So water is very cheap where we're working. Water has never been an issue in terms of Shadoof's gardens. Also, these women already own the homes. The families already own the homes, which is just a dynamic of the area we're working in, where families will own a one-family home and will just build up if they add more members of the family. But
That's time.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.